You could be working on a short story or a play. I'll use a book for my example. Think of your book as a string in a line. And so you're a point of light and you're going along the line, and as you go along, the book forms behind you until you're finished with it, and then the book is done. But if you were to go back to the beginning again and go along that line, you could change it and improve it, and each time you do that, it's equivalent to adding brain power to it. It's equivalent to increasing the intelligence of the writing of the story, because each time that you go over it, that's another scan of that story. That is another calculation and creative processing that can improve it and enhance it. And because we have the opportunity to do that, because the fact that writing is on paper, we can go back in time and start at the beginning again and increase in a way. It's sort of like multiplying our brain power, not ourselves, but the quality of the brain power that is applied to that work. Because we as human are given only so much brain power, so much resolution of experience, so much power to imagine and envision. But on the page, we can go far past that by this rescanning of the work. The intelligence in the work, we can push it higher and higher and higher, and discover things we wouldn't have discovered if it was only a one-time scan. And it's sort of like building these stair steps that we can start to climb up to a new level of intelligence. Now, if you have never done many drafts of a play or a story or book, it may seem like added work to go back and rewrite, and that it would be a lot more intuitive and fun just to write the story, maybe clean up a few spelling errors, but really the opposite is true. The first draft of a story is the hardest, 10 times harder than the work that you would put into the story afterwards. In fact, the initial writing of the first write of the book is so hard that I think that is the major block that stops people from writing a book. And the grass that is greener on the other side is the working on that book after you've completed the first draft, because then, believe me, it becomes a lot easier and a lot more fun, and almost the point of the first draft is just to get all that really hard work past us so that we can learn what it means to enjoy writing. If you live once with a story, you're really not allowing yourself the total insight that you would get if you live with a story for a while. So you write the story, and if you go back to it, read it again, give it a chance to give your mind a chance to see it from different angles and different possibilities. If you allow the story that chance and make the changes with living with the story for a while, you're giving yourself an opportunity to make many more excellent decisions about how to improve that story. You can do many drafts on a story and still have the lighting be light and digestible. The kind of writing that people of our time like. It isn't about compressing the story with all of these intricate, thick writing that resembles writing of past decades, but the real layering of attention paid to the story really pays off in the subtle decisions about what the characters say and do. One way that doing the second, third, fourth, or fifth draft on the story and enjoying it is that so the foundation has been set. Now when you go in to do a draft, you can decide, okay, I'm mostly going to work on the structure of the plots and the plot and the subplots, and that's what I'm going to pay attention to. I'm not going to pay attention to dialogue, so on and so forth. And as you're reading it, it's a lot easier to focus on one thing. When you're doing the first draft, you're really trying to get a lot done at once. You're putting the dialogue in there, you're working with the plot, setting up the scenes, conveying what the reader needs to know in order for the story to begin. All these really difficult things at once, and you're not able to put 100% into that one part of the story. And my experience has been that during the first draft it really is mediocre work, because if I'm writing dialogue, I'm writing it while in my mind I'm thinking about plot structure, so the dialogue I'm just not at my best for writing the dialogue, and I can feel it. But when I can go back, then I have the time to I know what that dialogue, where it works with the plot, and I can relax and put my creative energy into all the surprising things that one character says and how it shows why they are who they are, and I can relax and enjoy it. So you can have a good story, but by redrafting it, you're freeing it. You're freeing it of those things that detract from the enjoyment of the story. You're clarifying its purpose, and on the later drafts of a story, you can watch this story really become a force, and you can start to see how it can make an impact on the reader, and that's something that you can watch starting to take shape in the later drafts that is very unlikely to happen in the first draft. Let's say you like to write comedy, and you have a completed story, and you're thinking, well, it's done, it's a story. There are these characters, and that happens, and beginning to end. But in that story, each scene and each event that takes place, that's a point that you can go to in your writing, and you can continue to enjoy writing your comedy about what those characters say and what takes place in that particular scene. And if you do that a few times, then you have like three. You can choose the best out of three. And I hope my tutorials are helpful. If you like my tutorials, please take the time to check out my website, solomation.com. I'm working on an animated series. They're posted for free. And also, to encourage me to make more tutorials, please hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. Tell me how your writing is going. If you have many possible circumstances for each event, if you have many of them, there's going to be just those choice pieces that when you find those and can put those into the story, then it still seems like a simple story, simply told, but it has the advantage of being the most choice possibilities of exactly what happens in the story. That we change and we evolve, we learn things in our life. and we improve in our decision making, and we gain a different perspective from day to day, year to year. In your writing, you can do that. You can go back and you can bring your new perspective to the story and then make the changes you need to make. I'm not talking about a total change of story, but you can adjust it and tweak it, having to do with a new perspective. And that story has the advantage of not just being written from one perspective at one point in time, but eventually from many perspectives. And things in the story that were not apparent before become blaringly apparent, and you can ask yourself, well, if all of a sudden you find all these new changes you can make that can either make it more effective, or you might find something that you realize, wow, I know what I was trying to do here, but that isn't working at all. I'm going to take this whole section out and create a new part for that story. When you're doing a later draft on a story, what is happening is that you're enjoying the work you've already done on it, and this is a motivating pleasure that you will feel while you're continuing to work on it, and it can give a feeling of getting somewhere and getting things done, and that's something we don't have in the first draft. And also you feel the relief of resolving little bits and parts of the story that subconsciously you knew were there, but consciously were not completely aware of them. And as you feel these little incomplete points and these little, and you unbind these little snags in the story as you go along, you feel the relief of those disappearing from the work, and what you know as what you're feeling about what the story really is, you can feel that come to light and actually become the story on the page. There's a saying that a chain is as strong as the weakest link, but it's good to look at it the opposite way also. If you make an improvement to one part of the story, you're improving the entire story. So if you go back and make a few improvements, you're improving the entire story for the experience of your reader. Why is it that way? Because if you have part of a story that is a distraction, that is a drag on the reader as they are reading the story, there's something that's confusing, that's still in the back of their mind as they go into the next part of the story. But if you've fixed that one part of the story, then they sail through, and then they get the next part of the story, they get the full impact of what that part of the story, how it can entertain them, and it improves the overall course that they take through the reading of that story. So thanks again for watching my video. It really encourages me knowing that when I see that a lot of people are watching these videos, I know that there are a lot of writers out there, and that means there's a lot of great stories being written out there. I hope your writing goes well, and have a good day.